It's a quick road trip for the Reds as they come to Pittsburgh for 3 with the Pirates tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for joining us here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Paul Keels along with former Reds pitcher Chris Welsh. And, you know, last month when the Reds were here, it didn't go very well, Chris. Kind of a whole different universe from where the Reds have been playing as of lately compared to that trip.
Well, they're both very hot right now, the Pirates and the Reds, but they came in here and the Pirates pitched well. In fact, they pitched real well against the Cubs and the Reds. They're 3-0 against both those ball clubs. They're under 500 against everybody else. But that 3-game series here in Pittsburgh compared to what happened elsewhere is evident. Well, you take a look at it on paper. The Reds were 0-3 when they came here to Pittsburgh. In Chicago, they were against 2-1. But look at the batting averages here. They were 181 when they came here again at PNC Park, and over the weekend against the Cubbies, they hit 333. That's a lot, and that's being back on the beam. I think this offense in this particular trip, you're going to see a lot more runs scored.
Both of these teams coming in after having won 2 of 3 over the weekend. It's Bronson Arroyo and Ross Ollendorf. First pitch coming up next. By Just for Men, for mustache and beard, keep your edge. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time, and you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese cones. And tonight's Reds broadcast on Fox Sports Ohio is presented in a beautiful high definition, courtesy of H.H. Gray. And a nice, beautiful look of PNC Park here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The opening of a 3-game series with the Reds and the Pirates. These two teams visited one another right here at the same spot last month. A series in which the Pirates took all 3 games. Here's a look at Dusty Baker's starting lineup for the series opener tonight, and pretty similar to what we've seen for the most part as of late.
Well, it has been ever since they put Brandon Phillips in the number 2 spot. His batting average continues to go up. Joey Votto, he is rocking and rolling right now, big time, and he's also hit the Pirates better than any other team out there. Roland Bruce Nix is in left field tonight. Drew Stubbs again in center. Ryan Hannigan behind the plate as usual when Bronson Arroyo is on the hill.
Bronson Arroyo, a former Pittsburgh Pirate. His opposite number just activated off the disabled list, Ross Ohlendorf.
Well, you know, Ohlendorf is a guy who was a very high prospect with the New York Yankees before being traded over here last year for the Pirates. He was 11-10 with a .392 earned run average. He's making only his second start of the year. He made one at the very beginning of the year. Then he went on the disabled list with back spasms. Kind of a mysterious illness as to whatever happened to him. No one really knows, but he's missed a lot of time. And what the Reds hitters will probably see, mostly fastballs and sliders. If you're a left-hander, he's going to throw you a lot of changeups down and away. He'll throw a lot more sliders with runners on base. It's kind of a chase pitch. He hopes that the hitters will chase after him. And again, this is only a second start, so we'll have to wonder how sharp Ohlendorf will be tonight.
He did log some time last week pitching for their Double-A team in Altoona, Pennsylvania. That one start of the year. Not a very good one against the Dodgers. 5 innings pitched, gave up 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, walked 3 and struck out only 1 in a 91 pitch outing in LA. Well, the Reds will start things off with Orlando Cabrera once again in the leadoff spot. And you talked about it, Chris. This move of Cabrera to the top seems to be working pretty good so far.
And it may not be a permanent move. Obviously, if Drew Stubbs gets back and gets going, he's going to be the guy in the leadoff spot. But in the meantime, Orlando Cabrera has been able to jumpstart this offense. They have scored a lot of runs their last 2 games, so this team is on somewhat of a roll offensively.
Cabrera comes in hitting .270. 3 RBIs, or 3 home runs, and 16 RBIs. Looks at a strike from Ohlendorf. Orlando yesterday 1 hit in 4 at-bats and struck out twice. And the Reds 5-3 victory over Chicago. Ross Ohlendorf, whom the Reds faced when he was with the New York Yankees, when he was working in relief at Yankee Stadium. He was acquired in 2008 in the deal that sent Xavier Nady and Damaso Marte from Pittsburgh to New York. Count now 2-2 on Orlando Cabrera, followed by Brandon Phillips.
Hey, you see the arm angle of Ross Ohlendorf right over the top. That slider goes pretty much straight down.
Grounder right at Cedeno. And Cabrera bounces out for the first out of the inning. Here's a look at the Ford defense for the Pittsburgh Pirates tonight. Manager John Russell. See Langston's Miller down in left. He's been a little off and on because of an ankle injury. Andy LaRoche, who was injured in the first game of the Reds, were here last month, and Ryan Doman behind the plate. That's how John Russell's team lines up defensively. Brandon Phillips, the 1-out hitter for the Reds. Good wood on that one into right field. Chasing into foul territory. Jones got it right up against the wall. Garrett Jones.
Well, the Pirates did something like a throwback today. They had their whole team out here about 3:30 this afternoon. They took a good old-fashioned infield and outfield. And the Pirates outfielders are running balls down in the gap. They were throwing to different bases, hitting cutoff men. And Garrett Jones, he's been used a lot at first base, but he's versatile enough to play right field, and that's where he is tonight. Nice play.
We saw him make some real nice plays playing first base in the finale of that series last month here. So Joey Votto up with 2 out. Big 7th inning home run yesterday for Joey Votto.
Was it ever? I'll tell you what. I mean, Joey Votto is one of those premier players. He's going to get better and better, but he has the ability to slow the game down in the most crucial times of the game. And that's the tough thing to find in an athlete.
There's that home run that Joey Votto hit, the big blow on the Reds' 5-3 victory. And really, it allowed Mike Leake to be able to get his 3rd win of the year. He's looking at a position possibly to absorb his first loss of the season. So 2 out. And the count 1-1 on Joey Votto. You see what he's done in his career against Ross Ohlendorf. as opposed to the norm, nice dry weather here in Pittsburgh. Last month, rainy. Miserable. It is expected to get quite chilly before the night is over. There is rain in the forecast for tomorrow evening's game. They're saying it could be down into the mid-30s before everything's wrapped up tonight. And unfortunately for the Pirates, a lot of the attention that's going on in Pittsburgh tonight is focused on the Penguins hockey team, who are playing in Montreal tonight. Game 6 of the NHL's Eastern Conference semis. Otto spraying fouls all over the place in this back with a count 2-2. The Penguins' victory tonight would clinch that Eastern semifinal series if they are able to eliminate Montreal, and then would await the outcome of the other Eastern semifinal series with Philadelphia and Boston. That series could come to an end tonight as well if the Bruins are able to eliminate the Flyers. And that's enough of the hockey lesson for tonight. 2-2 with 2 out for Joey Votto. Votto puts this to center field. Andrew McCutcheon gathers it. 3 up, 3 down. Red scoreless. Pirates coming to bat, bottom of the first. Cincinnati Reds. Here's a look at John Russell's lineup tonight. The struggling Aki Iwamura at the top of the lineup. Last month when the Reds were here, the pitcher was batting 8th. They've got him down in the conventional 9 spot.
Well, the number 3 guy is the lineup. The whole thing revolves around Andrew McCutcheon. You let him get on base, it changes. If you keep him close, though, it's a different story for this lineup. Jeff Clement playing first base, Ronnie Cedeno at shortstop, and Ross Ollendorf, as you saw, 1-2-3 inning, is batting number 9.
And Bronson Arroyo on the hill for the Reds. Bronson in his last effort, a no decision against the Mets.
He's pitched better his last couple of times out, no doubt about it. You know, he'll mix his pitches up. He's got plenty of different kinds of curveballs, of course, but in order to get to the curveball, he's got to set that sinker up and get that ball down around the knees and moving a little bit. And the Pirates got 5 runs off of him in his last start here. That was when the Reds lost 3 in a row. I say he owes him a little bit of a payback.
He works inside to Iwamura. There's a look at what Bronson Arroyo has done here in 2010. He's played with the Pirates 2000 to 2002. Grounder where Cabrera comes charging and gets Iwamura. More solid defense out of the Red shortstop.
Yeah, he had an extra step, really. Iwamura still has an injury to his leg, and if you look really closely, he's got a leg brace down around his knee, his left knee, and you can see it right there. And, you know, that's cost him a step or two. He was a much faster player when he came over to this league in the very beginning. He's playing through some tough times right now and just couldn't beat it out. Good play by Orlando Cabrera to get him.
So up will be Andy LaRoche playing third base. When we last saw Andy LaRoche here in Pittsburgh when the Reds came to town, he left the game early due to injury. He had received a walk, got to first base, and then came up a little lame and had to be taken out of the game immediately. but since then is hitting over .340 in his last 15 games. So Bronson Arroyo has one out. Pirates will have Andrew McCutchen, whom you talked about, Chris, in the on-deck circle behind LaRoche. Called strike. LaRoche played for a while here with his brother last year. His father, Dave LaRoche, a longtime major league pitcher who played for a number of teams, most notably with the Minnesota Twins. LaRoche, for that stretch in the last 15 games, has basically raised his average from 222 to over 300. Count 2-2. Bronson Arroyo to Andy LaRoche. Pulls this one, but that will carry into the seats foul. Bronson Arroyo in that Tuesday game of the Mets, a 5-4 loss by the Reds, went 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, walked a couple, struck out 3. David Wright touched him up for a solo home run, but here you see what Bronson has done in his career against one of his 2 former teams.
Of course, he's had 10 starts now against the Pirates, so there isn't much in the way of secrets as far as his stuff goes, his style, or anything else. Very much like Aaron Harang pitching against the Chicago Cubs. But interesting that there are nobody left over on his Pirates team from when the time that Bronson was a Pittsburgh Pirate. That seems like a generation ago.
Has been quite a bit of turnover. LaRoche just 1 for 7 in his career against Bronson Arroyo. He keeps trying to work that left field line.
Well, he keeps getting that ball up in the zone, does Bronson Arroyo, and inside, and you can see the way that LaRoche is really exploding open and getting that bat head through the zone. You know, he's a good high ball hitter, and I think those are kind of teaser pitches right now. If Bronson wants a ball where he really, or gets it where he really wants to, he's going to get that baby down and away.
That one straightened out, but popped to left where Lance Nix has a beat on it. Second out. Look at the Reds defense as you see Lance Nix with that play in left field. He gets the start with the usuals in the outfield, Stubbs and Jay Bruce. And the infield that really has been pretty much a highlight of what we talked about both in the pregame and at the outset. The great defensive play the Reds have gotten as of late. Ryan Hannigan, who's swinging a hot bat, remains behind the plate. And speaking of a hot bat, Andrew McCutchen. Rolling. And it'll be a 1-2-3 inning for Bronson Arroyo. No score. Reds and Pirates after 1 full here at PNC Park. Lines for tonight's game, and it has to do with what we've been referencing, and that's the outstanding defense the Reds have been playing as of late.
Well, they've been playing great defense, led in the outfield by Jay Bruce. He guns a man out yesterday in that very exciting ball game. Brandon Phillips, well, that's getting to be old hand. You're seeing that almost every other day with Brandon, a Gold Glove caliber play. But around the infield, they've been very good. They've only given up 4 unearned runs all year long. That puts them among the top 2 in the National League.
That is amazing. Our Elk and Elk storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Scott Rowland to lead off the top of the second for the Reds in a scoreless baseball game. Rowland over the head of LaRoche. And the first base hit of the night for either team comes from Reds third baseman Scott Rowland. He's going for 2, and he slides in safely. And he caught Lasting's Millage, maybe napping just a bit, chasing after that.
He may have, look how he really brings his hands in on that swing to get to the inside pitch. Take another look at it. Really short swings that ball and ricochets it right down the third base line.
Just got by LaRoche. But Millage had to come from quite a ways to get that ball, so that's what gave Rowland the opportunity. His 5th two-bagger of the year. So Jay Bruce, early on, presented with an RBI opportunity.
And also an opportunity to get that runner to third base. Even a productive out right here would give the guy behind him, Lance Nix, an easy chance for a run batted in.
So Ollendorf finds himself dealing Bruce a first pitch strike.
One thing Jay Bruce has done this year, he has really cut down on the number of times he swings at the first pitch he sees. Last year, the pitchers were getting him out on pitches out of the zone on the first pitch. This year, he's a little more patient. That shows me he's got more confidence.
Experience. 1 for 2 yesterday with a couple of walks for the Reds right fielder.
That pitch right there, he would chase that all day long last year and get himself out. I mean, it's very common for a young hitter to come up and say, you know what, I can hit any pitch that a pitcher throws up there. But the fact is, you can hit it, but it's going to be right at the second baseman.
Count 1-1 on Bruce with Rowland out at second base. Swing and a miss, and he goes to a 1-2 disadvantage. And Ross Ollendorf acquired in a deal with the Yankees. Jeff Karstens and Daniel McCutcheon, as well as outfielder Jose Tabata. Somebody the Pirates people are really excited about. Tabata one day being on this team, maybe later this year. Count 2-2 for Jay Bruce. He's hit safely in 4 straight games. And the start of his run may have been the series finale here in Pittsburgh last month. A game in which the Pirates pretty much had everything their way except for Jay Bruce's day at the plate.
Yeah, he had a couple of home runs in that. We're going to show them to you in just a second. And when you do, look at the location of the pitch where Jay Bruce hit these balls. One came off a left-hander, one came off a right-hander, but the spot in the zone was almost identical.
Count 2-2 with Rowland after a leadoff double stationed out at second base. Good patience there by Jay Bruce. And you mentioned off a left-hander and off a right-hander. There were Paul Maholm and Octavio Dotel, who were pitching pretty good that Sunday afternoon.
Both breaking balls, if I can remember correctly.
And both ended up in about the same spot in right field. Full count to Jay Bruce. Lance Nix on deck. Ross Ollendorf delivering. Here are the 2 long ones from Jay Bruce here in Pittsburgh. That one just about cleared the seats.
Yeah, he's got plenty of power, but the impressive one was off the left-hander. Paul Maholm liked that a lot.
Count remains at 3-2 on Jay Bruce. Swing and a miss. First strikeout.
That's a wasted at bat right there. I know Jay's not trying to make it out. It's certainly not a strikeout. He knows he's got to get that runner over, but somehow you have to make contact in that at bat to try to get that runner to third base. You cheat your team, and you also cheat the guy behind you. Now, Lance Nix is going to have to come up with a base hit to get the run in. He was just a little bit late on that fastball that ran right out of the strike zone.
So the one-out hitter is Lance Nix, who gets the start tonight in left field. See what Lance has done in his career against Pittsburgh. Dusty Baker asked before the game about Lance Nix being in there rather than Johnny Gomes, who's been on a roll, and basically saying it's about the normal time in which he would roll Lance Nix in there, especially against a right-hander who has been tough on right-handed batters.
I got to keep everybody a little bit active, keep them hot.
That is the tough challenge at times of the manager's job.
Well, the Pirates this year really have two distinct charts when it comes to pitching against left-handers and pitching against right-handers. Left-handers have killed the Pirates this year, a .332 batting average. Right-handers are down right around league average there. So they've been able to handle the right-handers, of course, predominantly a right-handed pitching staff, and that often is the case. But here, it's a dramatic difference.
Ollendorf just activated today. Jeff Karstens, who had been working as their fifth starter, reassigned now to the bullpen. 0-2. The Reds were here back in April. I got a good healthy dose of Paul Maholm in that Sunday game. I also saw Daniel McCutchen and Zach Duke. Rolling the leadoff double at second. Count 0-2 on Lance Nix. On deck is Drew Stubbs. Check swing. And they ring him up. So that's the second strikeout in a row.
We talked about that in the scatter report for Ross Ollendorf. When he gets ahead of you with runners in scoring position, he'll go to that breaking ball. And he does right there. That baby just drops right off the table. Can't hold up the swing as Lance Nix, and back-to-back punch-outs with the runner on second base. Pretty impressive so far.
Nice comeback after giving up that double. So now it'll be Drew Stubbs. Yesterday, Drew Stubbs 0 for 4, but with an RBI.
Sacrifice fly.
And his batting average still on the interstate at 181. But not lost in all of that is this young man continues to play some stuff. You know, we talked about all those defensive plays, Chris. He still continues to play some solid center field.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's really nowhere else for the Reds to turn right now either. There's no one in the minor leagues who's busting it up, who can play center field, ready to take over, is going to give you anything better than Stubbs. So they're going to stick with him, and I think they should. I mean, this guy's got a world of talent. He showed it last year. He showed it, in spurts this year. But, you run into a hard time. And right now he looks up at that batting average in the big screen. And, he's got, 181 batting average, and it's 10 feet tall. And in his mind, it's 100 feet tall. So you battle the mental part of it.
Had a homer off Oliver Perez of the Mets in the first game of the New York series back home.
I mean, he's about a week's worth of hot hitting away from getting his batting average back up to about 250.
That would be nice to see, and we know what he can do when he gets on base. He can create havoc for the opposing team. This one pushed to center field. McCutchen. Shallow ground has it. Inning comes to an end. A leadoff double by Rowland, and that's it. After an inning and a half, no score. Reds and Pirates are scoreless as we move to the bottom of the second here at PNC Park. You get a shot of some of the Reds fans who've made the trek out here to come see their favorite team play against Pittsburgh. Garrett Jones will be the leadoff hitter for the Pirates. And as somebody who has done it before, it is not a bad trip to come from Cincinnati or Dayton or Columbus or whatever and drive on over here to see the Reds play.
All right, now you left from Columbus. How far a drive is it from
it took me
Seville?
Now, I'm a slow driver, and anybody who's ridden with me will tell you that. But it took me with just a couple of coffee stops and everything about 3:45, just under 4.
Nice, comfortable ride.
Mm-hmm.
No speeding tickets for going too slow?
If I got a speeding ticket, there would be a news alert. Generally, very much stay within the speed limit.
Good for you.
Yes, generally.
As all of us should.
As all of us should. So, but no, not a bad drive at all. Not at all. Garrett Jones, who we saw make an outstanding play over on the foul line in right field. 1 and 2 against Bronson Arroyo. Jones, 6 doubles and 8 RBIs in his last 10 games. John Russell has had Ryan Church, who's been on a pretty good tear also, but Church with a wrist injury as of late. Jones has logged some time at first. Jeff Clement, who's there today, has played some there. They've called Steve Pierce up recently. Arroyo trying to work him outside. That Bronson was with the Pirates 2000, 2001, 2002, splitting time in each of those seasons between the major and minor league level. Jones puts this in play to right center. Stubbs backing, and a hazard just shy of the track for the first out of the inning. And be part of the Gillette Civil Rights game as the Reds face the Cardinals on Saturday, May 15th. The first 20,000 fans in attendance will receive a Chuck Harmon 1954 replica mesh jersey, just like the style the Reds players will wear for the game, courtesy of Duke Energy. For Reds tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com. Chuck Harmon, what a fine representative of Cincinnati Reds baseball.
One of the best ever.
Ryan Domit, the switch hitting catcher for the Pirates, will step in. There's a look at what Ryan Domit has done this year. Jason Jaramillo has also been spending some of the time in the catching spot for the Pirates. I mentioned Pittsburgh, one of 2 of Bronson Arroyo's stops before landing with the Reds. He was claimed off waivers by Boston in February of 2003. It counted for his time in the American League with the Red Sox as part of their 2004 World Championship team. And then was acquired in spring training while the Reds were busy working in Florida on March the 20th of 2006 in exchange for Willie Mo Pena. And Chris, I hate to admit I haven't looked. Is Willie Mo still playing with Washington?
That's a good question. I thought you were in charge of Willie Mo this week.
Domit to right field. Bruce got it. 2 gone. And will the Reds get it done with an RBI this season? That means another $25 from Shakely for the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done. So Lastings Millage will be the 2-out hitter. Millage certainly has been part of the reason, or was a big part of the reason why the Reds had trouble in their last trip here. It was that combination of he and Andrew McCutchen that helped the Pirates win the opening game on that Friday night. Consecutive base hits between those two that saw a blown save for Francisco Cordero. Look out. Arroyo trying to retire the Pirates in order here in the bottom of the second. Swing and a miss. Bronson Arroyo in his career against Pittsburgh, 4-4 with an ERA of just over 3.5. At PNC Park, he is 6-6. His Pittsburgh team over the weekend took 2 of 3 from St. Louis, losing yesterday, and swept the Cubs during the week before they came to Chicago or to Cincinnati. So it's a Pittsburgh team that has been playing some pretty good baseball, somewhat undernoticed by a lot of people. John Russell. Paul Maholm, who's been pretty steady, had a rough day yesterday. The Pirates defensively had some issues that led to that. Which checks in time. Jeff Clement, the first baseman, is on deck. It's the 7th start of the year for Bronson Arroyo. Certainly in his time with the Reds, when you think about the last 5 seasons, he has been a workhorse. When you think about innings pitched and the way he's really been able to, in most cases, take the ball and eat up the innings.
Well, he's one of only 4 pitchers in Major League Baseball to throw at least 200 innings in each of the or more in each of the last 5 seasons. And one of the things he really hangs his hat on is the fact that he does not miss a start. So, I can tell you, as being a former starting pitcher, and anybody who's been in the big leagues and, gone through a full season will tell you there are times when your arm doesn't feel very good, but you're going to run yourself out there anyway. Now, some guys will call the coach in and say, hey, Skip, I can't go. Arroyo is just not one of those guys. He'll make the call. Or he'll answer the bell, is what I mean.
And he'll get a ground out from Millage to Roland. And Arroyo has retired everybody he's seen. No score after 2 here in Pittsburgh. Turning yesterday, Chris.
Well, you're not kidding. I mean, he's got just great mound presence. I think that's the first thing that strikes you. That and the fact that he knows what he's doing on the mound as far as placing his fastball, changing speeds. Made one mistake pitch yesterday to give up a home run that cost him a chance to win the ball game. But, overall, Mike Leake has been the best starting pitcher the Reds have had from the beginning of the season right till now. And that's really saying something for a young man that has had no prior pro experience at all. And, you talk to him in the clubhouse, and the guy's focused on the game. He's not here to goof around. He pays attention. And This kid's going to be around a long time.
Oh, ball that bounces up there, and it looked like it caught Doman in the side of the head. Crossed everybody up.
You can practice blocking balls in the dirt all day long, but, you know, when you get a 55-footer, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You talk about staying on top of a slider. Ollendorf did.
Yeah, got him in the chest. It looked like it hit him in the head at first.
Left a crater in front of home plate on that one.
Mike Leake yesterday, 7 innings, 4 hits, gave up 3 runs, walked 1, struck out 6. As the Reds were able to bail him out thanks to that Votto 7th inning home run to get him the victory to move to 3-0.
Well, he did get the victory. I thought, you know what?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you know what? I got it marked down wrong in my scorebook when he gave up the home run to tie the ball game. Votto did come to the rescue.
He did. Bailed him out. Count full on the Reds catcher, Ryan Hannigan. Ball 4.
I saw a note that he's the first Reds pitcher to go 3-0 in his first 3 starts as a Red. One of 3. Tom Browning was another. I'll think of the third one.
Okay. Wayne Simpson, maybe?
No, it's
more recent.
More recent, the guy who really didn't hear much after he went 3-0.
Well, the possibilities are endless there, then. And Mike Leake in that series here last month, he had a pretty solid outing in which the Reds bats just really didn't do a whole lot. I believe he came away with a no decision in one of the games here. Bronson Arroyo with a bunt trying to move the runner over, but bunts it foul. Arroyo coming in at 0.71. Can't fall asleep on Bronson Arroyo at the plate in a normal batting situation. A couple of years ago, he hit a couple of homers off the Cubs. Takes a strike. If I'm not mistaken, I think Bronson hit both those home runs off the same pitcher. Yes, he did. In 2006, hit him off Glendon Rush. He has 4 career home runs. Count 0-2 on the Reds pitcher. Hannigan at first after the walk. Ollendorf dealing. Ollendorf has struck out 2 Reds batters. That walk given to Hannigan, the first he's issued. No score here in the top of the 3rd as Orlando Cabrera waits on deck. Nice clear night here at PNC Park, but it is getting cooler. Arroyo gets the bunt down. Doman will retire Arroyo. The sacrifice bunt moves Hannigan on to second base, and Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy looks back on an afternoon talking baseball with Phillies legend Robin Roberts. Read all about that by going to FoxSportsOhio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. And Chris, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it since Robin Roberts passed away. I know he was your collegiate coach in South Florida. I know personally you have to think a lot about the gentleman, but when I looked and saw he had 6 consecutive 20-win seasons in the 50s, my goodness.
He also had 6 consecutive years in which he threw more than 300 innings per year. One of the finest gentlemen you will have ever met. And, he was a great basketball player, too. He was an All-American basketball player at Michigan State.
Did not know that.
And also told me off the record, never really wanted a lot of credit for this, but he was one guy who was very instrumental in taming the fastball of Sandy Koufax when Koufax was with the University of Cincinnati.
A lot of people don't realize that Sandy was at UC. Yep. Now, how did he tame it?
Well, throwing in the gym, he kind of took Koufax aside and kind of explained to him what it takes to be a big leaguer, which is back off a little bit, be able to throw the ball for strikes, and help them with his delivery. And Koufax kind of took his advice, and the rest is Cooperstown history.
Part of the 1950 Phillies Wiz Kids team that won the National League pennant. Of course, that was a week in which another Hall of Fame baseball person passed away, Ernie Harwell.
Yeah, miss Ernie too.
Had a chance to get to know Ernie from 7 years working and living in Detroit. And like everybody else said, what a gentleman. And that exceeded his ability, which was Hall of Fame caliber as an announcer. Ernie Harwell at 92, I believe was, 2 years old. Passed away after a battle with cancer. Of course, broadcast the great Tiger teams in '68 and '84 that won world championships. Count 1-1 to Orlando Cabrera. Hannigan out at second after Arroyo bunted him to second. Orlando led the game off with a bounce out to shortstop. Ohlendorf, the native Texan, 2-1 against the Red shortstop. On deck is Brandon Phillips. Cabrera, a 4-game hitting streak on the line coming into this game tonight here in Pittsburgh. Looks at a strike.
Now, we told you at the very onset of this ball game, the Pirates pitch very well here at PNC Ballpark. This is a place where long fly balls go to die. And at home, the Pirates are 9-6 with a 4.9 earned run average. That's around league average. On the road, they're horrendous. They're 5-11. They've given up a ton more home runs, and their earned run average is a lot closer to 7. They're 3-0 against the Reds at home. They're 3-0 against the Cubs at home. And against every other team that they have played, they're under 500. So they've made their hay against the Reds and the Cubbies.
And if I remember right, they began the season here with the Dodgers and took 2 of 3 in that series. And then went out west and really flamed on. Count full to Orlando Cabrera with Hannigan at second and 1 out in a scoreless baseball game. Ball 4, second walk issued. So the Reds with a genuine threat working, with Brandon Phillips coming up. Second walk that Ross Ohlendorf has given up tonight. As we mentioned at the beginning of the night, Ohlendorf activated after being on the DL with some back problems. There's Joe Kerrigan, the Pittsburgh pitching coach.
With runners in scoring position, yeah.
Last year, his first full season in the majors, and led the Pirates staff with ERA numbers 2.64. Joe Kerrigan, a veteran baseball man. Brandon Phillips, a fly ball to right field. That was that play we alluded to where Garrett Jones made an outstanding run chasing the ball down the foul line and right in front of the stands. Ohlendorf made his first career start with the Pirates in Cincinnati. That was in 2008. Gave up a pair of solo homers to Chris Dickerson and Joey Votto. And how about the way the month of May has started for Brandon Phillips? Got 2 spots agreeing with him.
And it started that way because he stayed on the ball. But if you take a look at that last swing that he took, he really pulled himself off that ball, misread the breaking ball right from the get-go. That's the chase pitch that Ohlendorf throws up there. Kind of teases you with it, breaks away from right-handers.
Kind of one of those swings we saw when he was in the number 4 spot.
Yeah, you know what, and talking to the hitting coach, Brooke Jacoby, you know, and this happens to a lot of guys, you know, you start wanting to lift the ball a little bit, and when you do, you begin to tilt your shoulders. If you start out with your shoulders level and you want to complete the swing with your shoulders level. But as soon as you start dropping that back shoulder, you loop your bat a little bit, and it makes it awfully hard to hit a line drive.
Tries to go the other way. Something that, well, there was a couple of games this weekend where it looked like Brandon was very successful to try to go the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And when he keeps his shoulder in there, but if you want to keep it straight, that's the way you do it. But when you start dropping it too much right away, and that really wasn't all that bad. I mean, that pitch was a lot better than the previous one. But, of course, Ohlendorf left that slider up in the zone right here. He just had a visit from his catcher, Ryan Doman, who said, hey, you better start keeping that baby down.
Phillips 4 home runs on the season. Ohlendorf works him inside. Count 1 and 2. Hannigan, who had a walk, is out at second base. Cabrera, who got a walk, is at first base in between a sacrifice bunt by Bronson Arroyo. Ohlendorf in his career 1-0 against the Reds with an ERA of over 4 in 3 appearances. Back In 2008, he had 2/3 of an inning of scoreless relief in June of that season against the Reds. 1-2 the count. Phillips and the Reds are making Orlandorf throw quite a few pitches. Phillips hitting safely in 4 of his last 6 and in 8 of his last 11. Went after. 3rd strikeout for Ross Ollendorf on the night.
I'll tell you one thing about Ollendorf. He saves his best stuff for runners on base. Ever since they get a runner on second base, he really turns it up a notch. He gets Brandon Phillips right there, very much like he got Lance Nix on a breaking ball that Nix could not hold up on. Neither could Brandon Phillips. 3 strikeouts. All of them have come with runners at second base.
So with 2 out, it'll be Joey Votto. And a season-high 8-game hitting streak on the line for the Reds' first baseman. Hit a fly ball to center field in his first at-bat. Held in enough time. Says both Brian Knight at home and Sam Holbrook at third.
Yeah, Sam's been trailing us a little bit. He was here in Cincinnati during the Mets series. He was in Cincinnati during the last series against the Cubs. And here he is in Pittsburgh. Good to see Sam. Good man.
Somebody must be hooking him up with something. Otto punches this one into foul territory, and it will get out of play.
Joey Votto, as I said earlier, one of those rare athletes who's able to slow the game down in the tightest of situations. And you see how his numbers go up big time. On base percentage, especially. From 400 to 458. Home runs with runners on base. That's what you like.
And just very matter of fact in that little pregame interview clip we heard in reference to that home run he hit yesterday.
He's never a guy that really gets too high or too low. You know, he just
like it.
Kind of cruises right along. Very intense worker, though.
That 8-game hitting streak is tied with Cabrera and Roland for the longest by a Reds batter this year. But look at what he has done against the Buccos.
Demolished him.
And a chance to try and pile on here with 2 on and 2 out. Count 2-1. Hannigan at second, Cabrera at first. Scott Rowland on deck should the inning continue. Rowland had the first base hit of the night for the Reds.
Now you see Ollendorf pitching to a scouting report right here. I mean, they think that the weakness, if there is one for Joey Votto, is chasing that high fastball. And he's a good low ball hitter. That's why Ollendorf has just enough on his heater to throw at the top of the zone.
3-1.
You throw that same pitch down even a few inches below the knees, and, you know, a guy like Votto who likes the ball down just drops that bat head.
One will be picked up by Iwamura at second in the inning. The Reds leave a couple stranded, and no score after 2.5 here in Pittsburgh. Jeff Clement to lead off the bottom of the third. Looks at a slow one from Bronson Arroyo for a strike. See, Clement struggles at the plate. Jeff Clement snapped an 0 for 19 streak with a pinch hit single on Friday night. 1-1 pitch. Chance for Brandon Phillips on the move. Got it for the first out.
Well, nice sinking fastball right there from Bronson Arroyo to get the first out of the inning. And, you know, he talked about his transition from one grip to another on his sinking fastball, his two-seamer. We showed you that in our pregame show, Reds Live, and we'll go now and take another snip at it and see what Bronson has to say about his new grip.
Well, for years I threw my grip across the two seams here. From high school on, and it just never seemed to be real consistent, And last year I was watching Edinson Volquez actually throw his changeup across the backside of that horseshoe like that. And so, Dick Pohl said, why don't we try throwing the two-seamer right there and see what happens? And, I really just started getting a lot more consistent sink on it. Just for some reason, the ball's still, spinning in the same direction, but holding those two seams right there seemed to give me like a little more oomph on the ball, and it just seemed to be consistently running down and in on the right-hander.
Ronnie Cedeno to center, second out.
So far, so good on that sinking fastball for Bronson Arroyo. The operative word in all that was it seems like, and that's as big a thing for a pitcher or a hitter as anything else. I mean, because if it seems to you like you have a better grip, or if it seems to you as a pitcher that you're going to have a better sink on it or better command, that's what you want, because you have to throw with confidence. And if it seems that way, it's going to give you confidence. And I think that, Bronson, it was just a little bit of a change. Dick Pohl, he did it more than a year ago. Dick Pohl's the one that suggested it to him, and it clicked. And ever since that time, he's had a better sinking fastball, no question about it.
Does it vary from pitcher to pitcher, person to person, how much you work on it, say, in the bullpen or on the side before you try in a game?
Well, you work on it a lot, but that particular change is a very simple one. It's just you throw it the same, it's just that you're holding it differently in your fingers, and he probably could have made that change mid-game if he wanted to.
Oh, really? Well, he certainly has had things going in his favor to date. Bronson Arroyo works on Ohlendorf, the pitcher. John Russell batting his pitcher ninth, at least tonight, in the series last month. The Pirate manager had his pitchers hitting eighth, and Ronnie Cedeno had been batting ninth. Swing and a miss. Quick work. No score after 3 full here in Pittsburgh. At Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, where you can register to win the Tundra at Great American Ballpark. By JTM, food, family fun. JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by GMC, we are professional grade. We move to the top of the fourth here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. A scoreless baseball game. Bronson Arroyo has retired the first 9 batters he has faced. And he's been dealing some solid work. Scott Rowland, who has the only base hit of the night, will lead off the top of the 4th for the Reds. He doubled in the 2nd. Ross Ollendorf, who made the final out of the inning. Ollendorf has struck out 3 and walked 2. While Bronson Arroyo, in getting that strikeout of Ollendorf, got his first K of the evening. Scott Rowland looks at a strike. Pops this one up. Calling for its second baseman, Iwamura, in shallow right for the first out of the inning. And it is time for Chris Welsh's favorite part of the night, the AT&T trivia question of the night. Who was the starting pitcher for the Pirates in Game 6 of the 1990 NLCS against the Reds? Zane Smith.
Oh, yeah, you probably know this right off the top. Was it Zane Smith?
Guessing Zane Smith.
Well, he was as country as you could get, wasn't he?
Being told that is the wrong answer.
Oh, is that right? Huh.
I was thinking that it was Doug Drabek who won Game 5 before that. Got the media guide sitting right there, but not going to cheat. If it wasn't Zane Smith, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Doug Drabek. Jay Bruce, broken lumber, but into right field for a base hit for the Reds right field. At least it sounded like it broke.
Yeah, if he didn't break it, he certainly got it in on the thumbs. He'll still get knuckles and congratulations from Billy Hatcher down at first base. Carson's is throwing his fastball really pretty much where he wants to, right on the inside corner right there. He gets in the kitchen of Bruce, but who's strong enough to get it into the outfield.
Second base hit of the night for the Reds. Of course, you mentioned Billy Hatcher. He was acquired by the Reds from the Pirates prior to that 1990 season, and a homer Billy did in one of the playoff games here in Pittsburgh. Hatcher and Mariano Duncan homered in the same game here in Pittsburgh back at Three Rivers. Lance Nix at the plate. Oh, that was close. That was close. Okay, if it wasn't Zane Smith. That looks like they may have got it. Reds might have got a break. Maybe. Bob Walk might have still been on the staff.
You know what? That may be the right answer here.
Bob Walk?
The broadcaster here with the Pirates. You know, there's always some kind of connection. Maybe a guy in a ballpark. Maybe somebody who went on to be a Reds player. That might be the key. I would probably guess whoever it is also played for the Reds.
The Reds before, let's see. The first person that was with the Reds after the Pirates was John Smiley, but maybe Denny Nagel. We got a lot of maybes and guesses being thrown out there.
Well, that's Gary, our in-house statistician up here in the booth, and he's been pretty right on with just about everything he's told us in the previous series. He told us the Pirates were going to blank the Reds 3 games in a row, and it happened.
And they did. 2 one-run games and a 2-run game.
Told us the Reds are going to return the sweep in this series.
Well, Lance Nix 1-0 against Ross Ollendorf. Of course, the Reds won that series against the Pirates and then went on to sweep Oakland in 4 in the World Series. Nix shoots this one to left field, and that will creep in for extra bases. Scooting around to third base, Jay Bruce. He's going to be waved in toward the plate. Throw coming to the dish. Bruce slides in safely. Nix is going to go to third on the throw as the Reds get the first run of the night.
Well, interesting, the 2 guys who their first time up against Ross Ollendorf struck out, made some adjustments. Lance Nix going the other way with a baseball or a fastball that is on the outer part of the plate, lines it down the left field line. Very odd configuration up there. That kind of kicks around a little bit. Millage gets it in, and the relay by Ronnie Cedeno gets by the catcher and then by the pitcher into the stands. Bad backup job by Ohlendorf. Nix goes to third. The Reds score their first run. And a nice bit of adjustment on the part of a couple of left-handers in this lineup to finally figure out how to go to bat against the Pirates starter.
Well, a double for Lance Nix and then an error to
probably Cedeno,
I would think. Yep, the shortstop.
A mental error on the pitcher for not being in the right spot.
So 1-0. The Reds with a lead on an RBI base hit by Lance Nix.
I mean, all you want to do when you're backing up a base like that is not let the ball go in the stands. So you ought to get as close to the stands as possible. Give you much chance. But what I see a lot of pitchers do is when they back up, they get too close to the base they're backing up. So the ball takes a bad hop or ricochets off a player. You've got no chance to run it down.
So the threat continues with one out with Nix down at second base.
I was really good at backing up bases, you can tell.
I can tell
a lot of practice.
Well, let's not go there. They made that E2, not E6. So they gave
that's a tough call right there because it was a bounce at the plate. It wasn't like it was a chest high throw.
Two and one. Stubbs pops this one. Jeff Clement, foul territory. Once it goes into play. There was a call yesterday here, a ball that was a windblown ball, originally ruled an error, but then changed to a base hit. The Pirates lost to St. Louis. Jay Bruce with a single to get the scoring started, and then an RBI double by Lance Nix, an error on Ryan Doman on the throw to the plate that allowed Nix to move to third, and the Reds a 1-0 lead. So 3 base hits on the night for the Reds so far, and 0 in the hit column for the Pirates. Infield playing in for Pittsburgh. That bounces away from Doman, and they're going to hold Nix at third.
Well, you know, it's not really a matter of holding or not. That is up to the runner. I mean, Mark Berry, the third base coach, who's one of the best in the business, he can't give you advice right there. You've got to react at it. And if you think it's going to bounce far enough away, you take a shot. If you think the catcher's going to get to it quickly, you hold on to it. He takes a couple of steps, then he realizes, you know, that ball's not going as far as he thought it would. In fact, in the on-deck circle, Ryan Hannigan was kind of holding his hand up saying, it's not even as far, you know, as I am in the on-deck circle, so don't go. And with one out, you don't take that chance. Maybe with 2 outs, you try it. But here, just a simple fly ball by Stubbs will played another run.
Did you notice Ohlendorf coming down to cover the plate a little quicker?
It's his run out there. Well, they're trying to get a pop-up in the infield. They've got the infield in. They shade Drew Stubbs a little bit towards right field. You see the center fielder over that way a little bit. The right fielder hugging the line. They're going to pitch him away, trying to get him to pop up a high fastball or chase a breaking ball here. There's the breaking ball, the chaser.
And if he doesn't chase it, so a walk. The third of the night given up by Russ Ohlendorf. Will put Stubbs on at first.
Which at this point is a moral victory for Drew Stubbs. You know, when you're struggling and you're battling in a bat, and if you just reach base, even in an RBI situation, you know, he fouled off a couple of pitches that he probably should have handled, but now he's on. So now what you're thinking, if you're the Pirates, is, all right, the fastest of all the Reds is on base. Chances of a stolen base, very good right here. Well, let's put a play on. Let's see what we're going to do. We're going to throw all the way through. We're going to fake to second base. We're going to throw it down to third. We're going to try to get Stubbs at second, hoping that Lance Nix doesn't try a double steal. This is a pretty good combination for Dusty Baker as far as being able to put an offensive play on because he's got good speed on the base paths.
Here's a look at the work for Ross Ohlendorf on the mound. And at the plate, a guy who's been swinging a pretty hot bat as of late, and Ryan Hannigan.
Well, what Hannigan has changed this year is his batting average with runners in scoring position. I mean, look at him lately with runners in scoring position. 7 for 11. 14 runs batted in. He only had 11 all of last year.
Pitch out.
And really what that tells you is that you know, he had the reputation of not being a clutch hitter. I thought that was very unfair for Ryan to have that tag because, you know, what he's done this year with runners in scoring position is simply cut down on his strikeouts. When you do that, you put the ball in play, and you're eventually going to get your hits with runners in scoring position or without. He's just simply a better hitter this year, and the numbers are reflecting that.
Touched up the Cubs for a grand slam on Saturday night. So 1 out, a run in, and 2 on for the Reds, who lead it 1-0 here at the top of the 4th. Lance Nix with an RBI double. His 3rd run driven in of the year. Nix at 3rd, Stubbs at 1st.
Looks like you're pitching around Hannigan to get to Arroyo. With 1 out, doesn't make a lot of sense, but he certainly doesn't want to make a mistake. Hannigan is making him throw strikes.
Hannigan at 4:09 coming into the game. Walked in his first at bat. Another walk to load him up. Back-to-back free passes. 4th walk of the night that Ohlendorf has given to the Reds. So Arroyo comes to the dish with 1 out and 3 on. Put down a successful sacrifice bunt in the 3rd inning to move Ryan Hannigan on to 2nd. And the Pirate infielders will again come in and play close. Tight on Bronson Arroyo. Pittsburgh getting some work together in the bullpen. Javier Lopez is heating up. Bronson Arroyo trying to make a legitimate swing. He just fouled one right into the Pirate Club, right below where we're at. See what Bronson has done in his career with the bases loaded. Four home runs as a hitter for Bronson Arroyo, but really all he needs to do is chink one into the shallow part of the outfield. Two of the 4 walks that Ohlendorf has given up have come here in this inning, and they've come to the last 2 batters, Stubbs and Hannigan. Reds leading 1-0, but an opportunity to get a couple, 3 more. At the top of the 4th. Shallow right. Jones with it. 2 out. We'll go to Cabrera in the top of the inning, top of the order here in the inning. Orlando 0 for 1 with a walk. Bounced out to the shortstop. Base is still loaded for the Reds with 1 run in, 2 out. Cedeno at short. On the run, throwing, inning over. But the Reds do get a run.
Wow.
1-0. Reds with a lead. answer we have been waiting for bated breath. Who was the starting pitcher for the Pirates in Game 6 of the 1990 National League Championship Series against the Reds? It was the clinching game for the Reds. Ted Power.
Wow,
oh,
you know
my
what?
Goodness. Shame on us.
No kidding. Shame on you. You're the Reds historian in the house.
Let's not get that carried away. Ted Power, the pitching coach in Louisville. Iwamura tries to lay a bunt down for the Pirates unsuccessfully. And here is the final out of the clinching game for the Reds with Randall Kirk Myers up against Don Slott, the Pirate catcher. And the Reds clinched the National League pennant with that victory in Game 6. Danny Jackson was the starter. Pinch hitter Luis Quinones singled home Ron Oster for the decisive base hit in that 2-1 win for the Reds over the Pirates. Swing and a miss by Iwamura. Shame on us for not remembering Ted.
That's
Power.
a good trivia question.
That is a very good one.
Connected, of course, to the Reds.
There's Ted Power, 2 different stints with the Reds around his time with Pittsburgh. Iwamura grounds into Brandon Phillips. And that will be the first out of the inning. Of course, one of the great defensive gems came from Glenn Braggs off Carmelo Martinez, who would later play for the Reds. Braggs had just entered the game as a defensive replacement for Paul O'Neill.
You know, Glenn Braggs was with us on our caravan trip that went through Columbus and over eastern Ohio this year, and he was asked about that particular play so often on that caravan. People remember that. And he still looks like he can play, I'll tell you what. Keeps himself in sensational shape.
Of course, Braggs was acquired along with Billy Bates in a midseason trade from Milwaukee when the Brewers were at that time still in the American League for Ron Robinson. Lined right at Cabrera, but off his glove, and reaching will be LaRoche. That's an error on the Red shortstop.
Well, he thinks he should have had it. Orlando Cabrera does, but that ball is going to be ruled a base hit. And that is the first of the night for the Pirates.
Forgive me, I thought I heard him say error.
That should be an error. Glad they got that right. You know, that was hit hard. Could have been knuckling. Not making excuses for Cabrera. I mean, he'd love to have a chance right now from Bronson Arroyo to turn a double play.
Well, the opportunity exists with standing in is McCutchen.
A very slim opportunity with the way this guy runs. Can absolutely fly.
10 steals, which is second best in the circuit right now. McCutchen grounded out to roll into third in his first at bat. So Andy LaRoche on at first base. You're talking about Glenn Braggs when he came over in that trade from Milwaukee. Maybe one of the other things people may remember him so much for was a couple of times during the season when he'd break his bat right over his back while swinging and missing at pitches. He was just so big and strong that he'd swing so hard when it didn't connect with the ball, the bat would snap right across his back.
He was asked about that a little bit too.
Arroyo in need of a strike to McCutchen. And does not get it. So 2 on for the Pirates.
Well, Ohlendorf had a little bit of a mental lapse his last inning. Things began to unravel for him. The Reds did pick up a run. He walked back-to-back hitters, number 7 and 8 in the lineup, before he was able to retire Arroyo and then the leadoff hitter Cabrera. Now, same thing seems to have happened to Bronson Arroyo. An error, a walk. See if he can wiggle out of this jam.
Garrett Jones. A fly out in his only appearance at the plate so far. 1 out, but the Pirates with a threat going with a couple on. Strike to Garrett Jones. How about the work of Ohlendorf to get off that last
he
hit?
was really, he really shows me tonight that he's been able to bear down when he's had to. He's made his best pitches with runners on base. Great pitch right there to start him off. A little comeback fastball right underneath the elbows.
Jones with a foul ball. comes into this game with 4 home runs. He had 3 of them in the first 2 games of the season. And a 2-strike hold to Bronson Arroyo. Garrett Jones is the Pittsburgh right fielder. Pops this to center. Stubbs lines it up. Second out of the inning. LaRoche tags but bluffs.
Now, LaRoche does not have great speed right there, and there's no reason to make the 3rd out of the inning at third base on a play that all it does is get him to 3rd.
So Ryan Dolan, the catcher.
And that's another one of the little things that you don't really notice, but we showed you Jay Bruce making a great play yesterday, throwing a runner out at the plate. Well, Drew Stubbs has a pretty good arm, too, and he throws very well for a center fielder. I mean, some of the last few center fielders the Reds have had out there don't have nearly the arm that Stubbs does. And you can keep a guy from going from second to third. You know, there are 8 ways you can score from third that you can't score from second. So you may save your run right here.
And Tony Beasley, the Pirate third base coach, obviously very aware of what Stubbs has been able to show in his time in the majors. There's Tony Beasley.
You know, third base coaches, I think, probably do as much homework as anybody on that coaching staff.
Got to, don't they?
Well, they watch so much video. I mean, Mark Berry is tireless in what he does as far as watching video to see how outfielders, not just how they throw, but how they approach balls, how many steps it takes them to get to a ball and then release the throw, how level their throws are. Do they hit to the cutoff man or do they overthrow the cutoff man? They've got a book on every outfielder the same way batters have books on pitchers.
Reds with a 1-0 lead thanks to an RBI from Lance Nixon the last half inning, but Pittsburgh with a threat cooking here. LaRoche is at second, McCutchen at first. The 2 are down. Ryan Doman, a fly ball to right field in his earlier at bat. Lasting's Millage would be next. Look at what Ryan Doman has done in this type of a situation. Lost a lot of time to injury last year, early in the season. Count 1-2. 2 out, 2 on. Up fly, not enough. There is enough room for Scott Rowland. That looked like it had too much carry. But the Reds are able to hold off the Pittsburgh threat. 1-0. Reds with a lead. Going deep against the Cubs, and yesterday the decisive blow in the 7th inning. Our Coors cold hard blast. Joey Votto's long ball work from the weekend. 1-0. Reds with a lead over the Pirates. Pittsburgh has called on a new pitcher, Javier Lopez.
Well, not really surprising given the fact that the starter, Ross Ohlendorf, missed so much time here between the first start of the season and now trying to pitch him back into shape. I think he only pitched 4 innings in his last rehab start. He threw 88 pitches overall, did Ohlendorf, and was just about evenly split between balls and strikes. But boy, did he ever work out of some tough jams. Worked out of a jam in the second inning when Scott Rowland led off with a double. The Reds unable to score after a couple of strikeouts, and they did get 1 run in last inning, but after a couple of walks and bases loaded, he was able to retire 2 in a row, so they'll bring on the left-hander to see if he can't pick up where Ohlendorf left off.
Javier Lopez will start it against Brandon Phillips, the Reds' second baseman. Swing and a miss by Phillips, who struck out and hit a fly ball to right field. By the way, the Penguins and the Canadiens are tied at 2 in the second period.
Well, those Pirate fans and Penguin fans will be happy to know that you've got one eye on that game, on that match.
Dan and Gary do back here behind us. So Javier Lopez out of the bullpen. The left-hander takes over for Ross Ohlendorf. And as you said, it was probably a guess he would be on some sort of a pitch count or a monitor. Threw a lot of pitches. Phillips bangs this to center. McCutcheon. 1 out. Brandon Phillips on the fly ball. And follow the Reds on your iPhone, iPod Touch, BlackBerry, and Android phone with MLB.com's At Bat 2010, featuring play-by-play, video highlights, and live audio broadcasts. Don't miss a moment in 2010. Visit Reds.com on your iPhone or iPod Touch to purchase. Phillips gone for the first out of the inning, and it will be Joey Votto. Looks at a strike, as we saw Joey with those 2 home runs over the weekend against the Cubs. Cedeno with an opportunity again. 2 out. So Cedeno makes some outstanding plays in the first series here in Pittsburgh. So Ross Ohlendorf back off the disabled list and in the dugout. 84 pitches in his second appearance. We mentioned he had thrown last Wednesday at AA Altoona. Also did a little extended spring training down in Brayton. Scott Rowland, who had the Reds' first base hit, the first of their 3 on the night, a double in the second. Would be the 2-out hitter. Javier Lopez with a scoreless inning yesterday here at PNC Park against St. Louis. 2 strikes to the Reds' third baseman. Night game here tomorrow night from PNC Park, and we will be back on the air with you for that game. A Wednesday afternoon game that will not be televised, just on radio. As Rowland will pop this one in foul territory. Gets out of play. Tomorrow, Johnny Cueto and Charlie Morton will be the pitchers, and then Wednesday afternoon, Homer Bailey and Zach Duke. The Reds with an off day Thursday, and then back home Friday with the Cardinals. So the Reds have made 2 trips to Pittsburgh already, and the Pirates have yet to come to Cincinnati. And it looks like we've got a fan who maybe was on the business end of that last foul ball. Yeah,
there was a high pop-up foul ball, but it hit on the very edge of the concrete dugout, and it took an odd bounce and looked like it clipped the fan, and they're down there taking care of him. Hopefully he'll be all right.
Another one that scattered some people down in the camera well at the end of the Pirates dugout. Well, it is some serious business when you get those millionaire row seats. You got to be ready.
Well, you know, the thing from a player standpoint is that you see a lot of players hit a ball into the stands, whether it's hard or not, and then they'll not even look because they don't want to know if they've hit a fan and then take their concentration off of what they're trying to do at the plate. Not their fault. They're just trying to hit a baseball. But I mean, if you hit somebody in the fans and they're obviously hit or hurt, or if you hit a kid and you know, you see people crying and so on, it's going to disturb you as a human being. So it's going to take you out of focus as to, you know, how you're going to hit this pitcher that you've been preparing for. So you see a lot of guys who do that. They just put their heads down and they don't want to know. Now maybe later, if there is an injured fan, they'll you know, send along some best wishes, or you know, send along some memorabilia, even make a phone call if it's a serious type injury where there's a hospitalization. But you do have to stay awake. There's no question about that, because, Paul, as you will find out in all the games you'll do this year, like we have seen over the years, you know, it happens several times a year where somebody not paying attention ends up getting hit, and their trip to the ballpark's no fun.
You know, back in spring training, Denard Span of the Minnesota Twins in a game down there in the Orlando area, he fouled off a pitch into the stands, and it hit his mother, who they then had to take out of the stands and into the hospital. I mean, think about that. You talk about trying to avoid paying attention to what happened to somebody, then you realize it's your own mother.
Yeah. Wow.
That the foul ball hit. Count 2-2 on Scott Rowland from Javier Lopez. The 2 out and nobody on. Reds leading by a run. And that's chopped at the plate. A fair ball. Rowland thrown out. Inning comes to an end. The Reds with a 1-0 lead over the Pirates here in Pittsburgh. Brandon Phillips mesh jersey thanks to Chiquita. Great seats are available for the Reds-Cardinals matchup. Call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/family. 1-0 Reds with a lead over the Pirates as we move to the bottom of the 5th here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Lastings Millage, the left fielder, to lead it off for the Pirates. And Bronson Arroyo has held Pittsburgh in check on 1 base hit. Lastings Millage in his first at bat grounded out to Scott Rowland to end the 2nd inning.
That first pitch strike to Lastings Millage, 10 first pitch strikes for Arroyo out of 15 batters he has faced. That's getting it done.
Yes, it is.
Lastings Millage from Bradenton, Florida. That's the, of course, the spring training home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he got his unique name after his parents. They had 2 sons very close together and then had Lastings, and they decided he would be their 3rd and last baby. So Lastings was the name.
And Lastings is gone. The 2nd strikeout victim of Bronson Arroyo on the night.
And he's trying to figure out, what exactly Arroyo's throwing him. That's not the curveball, that's a changeup. And tonight Arroyo has really used that changeup very effectively. You see the sink on that ball, but the location down and away. Good looking pitch.
Very. Jeff Clement, the first baseman. And he'll bash that into right field for a base hit. Jeff Clement. The second knock of the night for the Cardinals.
Clement, a former #1 draft pick for the Seattle Mariners. He came over here to Pittsburgh in the Jack Wilson trade that sent Wilson back over to Seattle. They got a pretty good looking player. They thought that Clement might be the catcher to be and the catcher of the future for the Pirates, but they feel, of course, with Doman behind the plate, and Clement's really best position is probably third base. If he hits like that, he'll be in the lineup.
Had some knee problems, didn't he, that kind of took away some of the catching prospect?
Yep.
Ronnie Cedeno will be the one-out hitter. So Clement after that base hit at first base. Cedeno in the series finale last month hit a home run against the Reds. Going out to left field. Does this ball carry a little better when the warm weather gets warmer, like in Cincinnati?
Yeah, most every ballpark does, but when it's cool here, and it's cool here a lot, it's a tough place to hit a ballpark out between the gaps. The gaps are very deep, and the yard behind the gaps. I mean, when you go from left center field at 383 into that little corner way out here, that corner out there is 410, which is the deepest part of the ballpark. It takes a bomb to hit it out of here that way.
0-2 the count to Ronnie Cedeno. Part of that trade with Seattle that you talked about, Chris. Cedeno, of course, played a lot of time with the Cubs as well. Now you talk about how hard it is for the ball to carry here. A total of 28 home runs have reached the Allegheny River since this park has opened.
Well, the park is right on the river, you can see. I mean, you get a ball and it bounces here and it goes right into the river. So, and then, who knows where it goes.
Yeah. Now, 20 different players have accounted for those 20, but only one has plunked it in the water on a fly. Darrell Ward, while with Houston, hit it off Kip Wells. Cedeno. Brandon Phillips gathers it for the second out.
Hey, Reds fans, check out this year's Rookie of the Year. JTM's new 32-count microwavable burgers. Look for them in their yellow bag and look for them today. JTM, food, family fun.
Well, Javier Lopez, the pitcher, is going to bat. He replaced Ross Ollendorf. May have broken some lumber there. Nick's coming up. Third out. Reds with a lead, 1-0 over the Pirates after 5 here in Pittsburgh.
likely is it 1, Bronson Arroyo, 2, Homer Bailey, 3, Johnny Cueto, 4, Aaron Herrera, 5, rookie sensation Mike Leake, or 6, Edinson Volquez when he comes back from injury. Text your choices to 37664, 37664. Standard text message rates apply. Interesting question, boys. What do you think?
Well, let's defer to the former pitcher.
They all have a chance. You know why? They all take the field, they take the mound, and they've got a ball in their hand, and you can create and control your own destiny. I mean, I don't think anybody thought of all the pitchers that were on the Reds staff that Tom Browning would be the one that would pitch a perfect game based on stuff, but he did.
He most certainly did. I'll tell you what, it seems as though, and Browning was a great example of a guy that worked fast, and Dallas Braden yesterday seemed to be going at a pretty fast pace. Now, maybe the game kind of plays to that as well, but somebody that works quick.
Yeah, it helps, certainly. I mean, Mike Leake went through, the first 5 innings, I think, yesterday, throwing a perfect game. He works very fast.
So is that your guess?
Well, will we ever know is the question.
Yes.
I mean, every time Homer Bailey and Johnny Cueto go to the mound, they've got no-hit stuff. I mean, if you want to look at it from a stuff standpoint. Same for Edinson Volquez. I mean, here's a guy that throws mid-90s with a great changeup.
Think about what Bronson Arroyo did tonight. He retired the first 10 batters he faced, if my count is correct. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, first 10 he faced.
And then you have an error. There goes your game. Right now he's throwing a shutout, so I'm sure he'll be satisfied if he can complete this baby.
And we'll see what the text poll results show us. Of course, Tom Browning with that perfect game that he pitched in 1988. Dallas Braden in his perfect game, the second in the history of the A's franchise. That includes their time both in Philadelphia and in Kansas City.
Catfish did the other one, right?
Catfish Hunter. Swing and a miss by Jay Bruce. Second time he's been fanned tonight. 4th strikeout by Pirate pitchers. There's Tom Seaver in '88 threw that perfect game against the Tom Browning against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tom Seaver with a no-hitter prior to that in 1978 against the Cardinals. I had a chance to be sitting way up in the red seats that night when Tom Seaver threw that no-hitter. George Hendrick with the last at-bat. Also had a chance to be sitting way up in the red seats when the Reds got no-hit by Rick Wise of the Phillies. And Rick Wise hit 2 home runs in that game. Lance Nix bounces to Cedeno. 2 are going. And look at the text poll update.
What's a bunch of front runners?
Why not?
I mean, after all, the kid's 3-0. And he did it for 5 innings yesterday, so I don't know. They all got a shot.
There were some people thought Danny Jackson, when he came to the Reds from Kansas City, was a guy that maybe had the kind of stuff that could have gotten a no-hitter.
Front runners.
There's that infamous double no-hitter that the Pirates are tied to. That ball's fouled off.
Were one of those games against the Pirates that Johnny Vandermeer pitched?
I'm just looking here. Johnny Vandermeer. No, Boston and Brooklyn.
Okay.
James Hippo Vaughn. That ball is over the head of the first baseman Clement by Stubbs for a base hit. So Drew Stubbs comes up with his first base hit of the night. So a 2-out threat going for the Reds.
That'll be very interesting now to see if Drew Stubbs is going to put on his running shoes, because he's the best stolen base threat the Reds have. In a 1-0 ball game, you've got to get somebody going here. So will Ryan Hannigan give him a shot or a couple of pitches with which to try to steal second? He's talking about his hands hurting after getting jammed on that pitch.
So Hannigan, who twice has walked tonight, will be the 2-out hitter with Stubbs on at first base. 8 steals for the Red center fielder, which is 4th best in the National League. Of course, dealing with a left-hander makes it a little more challenging. Speaking of no-hitters, the Reds do have 2 that came against Pittsburgh. They were both before the 1900s. Charlie Jones and Ted Brettenstein in 1892 and 1898. 1-0 Cincinnati with a lead here over Pittsburgh thanks to an RBI base hit by Lance Nix in the top of the 6th inning. The Reds have left 6 runners stranded. The Pirates have left 3 on base. Javier Lopez working in relief of Russ Ohlendorf. That no-hitter by Dallas Braden, maybe the most heartwarming scene was the sight of he and his grandmother down on the field after the game.
Yeah, is that who that was, his grandmother?
His grandmother.
And it was kind of appropriate. I mean, not appropriate, but interesting because, of course, Dallas Braden was the one that let loose on A-Rod for running over the pitcher's mound and saying, hey, you're disrespecting me, my team, and the unwritten rule of baseball by traipsing your big feet across the mound here. Stay off of it. And they had a little battle of words, of course, back and forth. Nobody can work it up like the New York press.
Of course.
And they went back and forth from one player to another, and then finally A-Rod had to give him a little bit of credit on pitching a perfect game.
And doing it on Mother's Day, I believe it was, it's been 9 years since Dallas Braden lost his mother to breast cancer and was basically raised by his grandmother.
Oh, great story.
3-1 pitch. Hannigan grounds that one to Cedeno, goes to Iwamura for the force, and that'll take care of the inning. But the Reds still protecting a 1-0 lead here in Pittsburgh. Freeze cam. And a look at some of the work by Bronson Arroyo on the mound and how he's been able to freeze the Pittsburgh Pirates to the tune of just 2 hits. That's our Coors Light Freeze Cam, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Bronson Arroyo and the Reds with a 1-0 lead over the Pittsburgh Pirates as we move to the bottom of the 6th inning here at chilly PNC Park. Bronson Arroyo trying to get win number 2 on the season. Akinori Iwamura will be the leadoff hitter for the Pirates. He'll be followed by Andy LaRoche and Andrew McCutcheon. Iwamura, a couple of groundouts on the night. You all right there? Count 1-0 to the Pirates' second baseman. Here's a look at what Bronson Arroyo has done tonight. Retired the first 10 that he faced. Count 2-0. Tomorrow, Johnny Cueto and Charlie Morton. Wednesday afternoon, Homer Bailey and Zach Duke. Iwamura into the gap in left center. Nix chasing. Got it.
I settled it earlier, and it is worth saying again, this is where long fly balls come to die. And that is like Death Valley out there, anywhere between that 385 sign, which is the left field gap. Really dead away left field if you want to look at it. And that 410 you saw just out of the corner of your screen right here. It takes a bomb to hit it out of here. On a cool night, you've got to even hit it better. So a smart pitcher like Arroyo pitching to the dimensions of the ballpark.
Absolutely. So Andy LaRoche, who got the first base hit of the night. The first of two that the Pirates have racked up against Bronson Arroyo. A single in the fourth. He almost leaned into that baby. LaRoche batting .413 against teams within the division coming into play tonight. 19 for 46 in 12 games against teams from the National League Central. Count 2-1 with one out and nobody on for the Pirates. Arroyo getting a lot of fly balls. Jay Bruce will put this one away for the second out. Andrew McCutcheon.
You know what Bronson seems to be doing tonight a little bit more of, and he did it last year a little more, even in 2008 more than that, where he was climbing the ladder with his fastball. Not throwing especially hard, but if you throw it just high enough, sometimes at 89 miles an hour, it's more effective than at 95. The hitter sees it better, thinks he can hit it, swings at it, and pops it up. And he's had a lot of those high fastballs popped up for base or for easy outs tonight. And then it seems like last year and in the beginning of this year, he didn't use it so much. He used more of that two-seam fastball to sink down around the knee. So he's just trying to change up his pitching style a little bit to stay one step ahead of the Pirates.
And also in the midst of those numbers, he's walked only one. And that was McCutcheon, his last time up. Well, then this Pittsburgh team as of late has done just such an outstanding job when they have scored early. That have been something they've trended very strongly in, and most teams do, but they have been maybe the notable team in the National League and when they score early, having success with it. McCutcheon hitting .404 at PNC Park. Started the game hitting .412 at home. He is always an extra base threat. Count 2-2. Another fly ball. Bruce with the angle. Inning retired. And after 6, the Reds with a 1-0 lead over the Pirates. Wireless 3G network. AT&T. Rethink possible. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. By Grainger, with over 900,000 products for the ones who get it done. And by Wendy's, you know when it's real. Welcome back to Pittsburgh at PNC Park. Paul Keels, Chris Welsh, Jim Day, and our entire crew, both in the truck and up here in the booth. The Reds with a 1-0 lead over the Pittsburgh Pirates. The home team will call on a new hurler.
Well, a young man originally drafted and signed by the Minnesota Twins, and he ended up going from the Twins to the Padres, from the Padres to the Devil Rays, in exchange of that job for Russell Branyan. And then the Pirates took him in the Rule 5 draft back in 2007. They gave the Devil Rays a little bit of money so that they could keep Meek, put him down to minor leagues, not keep him on the major league club all year long. And they gave him some seasoning down there, and here he is in the Pirate bullpen doing a pretty good job this year.
Third pitcher of the night for John Russell's team, and he'll face the Reds pitcher, Bronson Arroyo, leading off the 7th inning. Evan Meek had a streak of 10 straight scoreless appearances. 14 innings come to an end Friday, allowing a run and suffering a loss. 1-0. Reds with a lead. Grounded right back to Meek by Bronson Arroyo, and a nice polite bounce out for the first out of the inning. And replay returns with an all-new season. 2 high school hockey teams from 1999 reunite 11 years later in Hockeytown. Follow the journey of Catholic Central versus Trenton. Replay theseries.com. Speaking of hockey, believe it is 3-2 Montreal Canadiens leading the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're in the second intermission of Game 6 of that Eastern semifinal series in Montreal at the Bell Center. Orlando Cabrera looks at a strike. Should Montreal hang on and get the victory, that series moved back here to Pittsburgh Wednesday night at the Igloo.
What are they going to do with the Igloo?
Don't know. Ground ball to Iwamura by Cabrera, 2 out. Of course, this is the last year for the Pittsburgh Civic Center. They got a wrestling match going on there tonight. There was a big controversy here in town because, yes, when the Penguins have been away during the playoffs, they've shown their away games on the outer monitors there at the Igloo, but they are not tonight because of the wrestling going on there.
Well, that's a conundrum, huh?
Apparently.
For a Pittsburgh fan, what would you rather see, the Pens or some wrestling?
Is there any difference? I'm kidding.
That was Paul Keels, folks.
We're talking about the Stanley Cup champions here. Brandon Phillips, the 2-out hitter for the Reds. And Phillips hitless so far tonight. So the other Eastern semifinals, Philadelphia leading Boston, which is kind of a surprise because the Flyers are on the brink of elimination at the hands of the Bruins. Phillips right back to Evan Meek. He has to field 2 ground balls to get out of the inning. We go to the bottom of the 7th. The Reds with a 1-0 lead over the Pirates. the great late Roberto Clemente. There he was. This is his 3,000th base hit off John Matlack of the New York Mets. That was the last regular season base hit. Of course, later that year in the playoffs, Clemente had 4 hits, including a homer in the 1972 League Championship Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Garrett Jones for the Pirates tags one to Clemente corner in right field, but Jay Bruce gathers it in just shy of the wall.
Got out ahead of a breaking ball right there to Garrett Jones, and that's one thing you worry about in a lot of ballparks, even Great American Ballpark on a warm day. That maybe would have been problems, but that may be blown right out of there. He was kind of fooled on that pitch, but Jones is very strong, and he sends Bruce all the way to the deep part of the warning track.
That'll bring Ryan Doman up, with the Reds leading 1-0 here in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, a lot of early first pitch outs in this ball game. It's almost like these respective teams have something to do after the game. But hanging around downtown Pittsburgh, we know that can't be the case.
No. I got to watch the Pens and the Canadiens. Swing and a miss by Doman.
I guess we're not working with the Chamber of Commerce tonight, huh?
No. Well, maybe not on the places we've been to. How's that? Ryan Doman hitless tonight. A couple of fly balls that have been recorded for outs. They appeal? No. Of course, down there in right field, you see a couple of emblems with number 21 for Roberto Clemente circled. Played for the 71 Pirates that won the World Series and beat Baltimore. Of course, the 1960 World Series, Clemente part of that team. Bill Mazeroski with that game-winning home run in Game 7 at Forbes Field to end that World Series when the Pirates beat the Yankees. Bill Mazeroski. As you know, we've talked about so many of the great players that have played through some of those different spans of times with the Pirates. Doman pops this one. Play for Hannigan, maybe. No. You know, when you think about Willie Stargell, John Milner, we've talked about Dave Parker, certainly Steve Blass, who's over in one of the booths next to us. But you know, the guy that maybe around here he probably gets the attention, but we don't hear about enough. Danny Murtaugh, the manager.
Oh yeah, you're right.
2 different stints as manager. Bill Verdon took over for him. Chance for Phillips off the bat of Doman. 2 out here in the bottom of the 7th. Great American Ballpark, the perfect place to kick off your weekends. Don't miss the first Fireworks Friday of the year on May 14th, presented by PNC. Enjoy a spectacular postgame pyrotechnics display after the Reds Cardinals game. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com. And they do put on a show at Great American Ballpark with the fireworks. Bronson Arroyo has kept the Pirates from having a lot of fireworks here tonight, limiting to Pittsburgh to just 2 hits. Lastings Millage up the middle. Cabrera, and he can't hang on to it. Almost looked as he was going to shovel that off to Phillips.
Yeah, and it's going to be another error. Both of them in the ball game. Both of them tagged to Orlando Cabrera, the Red shortstop. He had a line drive that he misplayed earlier. And that was off the bat of Andy LaRoche. This one is a ball that he has to go a long way to. I'm not so sure that it's an error because he would have had to really make some kind of a play. Millage runs well. And maybe they feel if he just fields it cleanly.
They did rule it a base hit.
They did. You know, they first said error, I thought. And then, nope, they didn't. I just misheard them. The base hit all the way. So, with 2 out, they reach a base runner.
So Millage on base for the first time. Well, they let anybody in these booths, don't they?
Even guys with funny names like Dream Weaver.
Jeff Clement, the first baseman, the 2-out batter for the Pirates. Millage, a threat to steal. Of course, this Pirate team certainly has been known for their larceny. Deep in thought. Millage leading at first. Clement with a base hit. his last trip up in the 5th inning. 1-0 Reds with a lead. Reds have certainly had an opportunity to be in a better position than this. They've left 7 runners stranded. The Pirates have stranded 3. 17 first pitch strikes for Bronson Arroyo. He's getting to the heart of the matter right away tonight. Pop up. Scott Rowland. Inning over. Still 1-0. Reds with a lead over the Pirates here in Pittsburgh after 7. This game became 1-0. Reds ahead of the Pirates. Jay Bruce with a base hit to right field, followed by Lance Nix, who delivers an RBI double, and then an error charged to the catcher Ryan Doman allowed Nix to get to third, but Jay Bruce motors all the way around the diamond. Give the Reds the 1 run that is on the board so far. 1-0 Cincinnati as we move to the top of the 8th here at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. And as Scott Rowland made that catch for the last out of the 7th, he will hopefully get a turn to bat with Joey Votto leading off the 8th. Joey Votto hitless in 3 trips tonight, hoping to get a chance to extend that season-high 8-game hitting streak. During which time Joey Votto has hit .419. Has homered in back-to-back games, and if I remember correctly, do not believe Joey Votto has ever homered in 3 consecutive games. And the only reason I remember that note because apparently he was on that kind of a stretch coming into here to Pittsburgh the last time the Reds played here. Evan Meek. And that one off LaRoche. Votto will reach. Let's see how they rule that. Will that continue the hit streak?
Found up it's going to be an error as the official scorer calls that one on Andy LaRoche. Had to move a couple of steps to his right. You know, they're playing Joey Votto around to pull the ball. That's why he's way off the bag right there. Still not all that difficult of a backhand, and if he comes up with it, he probably has Votto at first base. But nonetheless, the Reds reach a runner here at top of the 8th inning, a chance to do a little insurance.
Second error of the night the Pirates have been guilty of. He just showed you the first one coming out of that break. The error on Ryan Doman on a play at the plate. So Scott Rowland had the first hit of the night for the Reds, a double in the 2nd inning. Evan Meek continues to work on the mound for John Russell's Pirates.
Did they not give Orlando Cabrera an error earlier in the game?
No, they did not. They did not.
Oh. Okay.
The early one?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they did not. Which equally is surprised.
Yeah.
Strike. So there have been only 2 errors in the game. They both belong to the Pirates. And that play you were referring to was the first base hit that Pittsburgh managed to reach against Bronson Arroyo after he had retired the first 10 batters he was opposed by. 0-1 pitch, Evan Meek to Scott Rowland. Remember, Rowland had trouble with his bad back when the Reds were here last, and there was a flu bug that was also going around the team. Rowland was having problems. Lance Nix was having problems. Joey Votto had a game that he even didn't start because of some issues. Reds had Kairos and Giannis playing third base in that earlier series. Count 0-2 to Scott Rowland. Jay Bruce on deck. He scored the one run of the night. Just like last time here. How about a big hands off salute to the Pirate fans braving the cold weather. Not many hardy souls here. I'm sure some of them got their transistors plugged in, keeping up with the Penguins, but those that are here bundled up. Some Reds fans sprinkled in. Penguins fans sprinkled in. Count 1-2 to Scott Rowland. Top of the 8th inning here at PNC Park. Rowland hits this into the gap in right center field, and it will fall. And it will get to the wall. Reds are going to get another run out of an RBI base hit by Scott Rowland. It'll be a double for Scott Rowland as Joey Votto scores. Second double.
Yeah, second double of the night for the Reds third baseman, and he walloped that one. The first one down the third base line. This one in the right center field gap. Watch him just hit this ball up in the zone. Boy, he's a good high ball hitter. And he muscles this ball right in the seam between the center fielder and the right fielder. And he had notions of going to third base. McCutchen gets to the ball quickly, and they get it back in there, but not in time to prevent Joey Votto from coming around and scoring the second run of the game for the Reds.
Yeah, some nice base running by Joey Votto to keep speeding across the diamond. 2-0 Reds with a lead. Right up the middle, but there's Cedeno, and they're going to go to third to get rolling, and they do.
Now, the rule of thumb is, as a base runner on second, if the ball is either at you or to your left, you go ahead and go to third. The only exception is if the ball is hit exceptionally hard. And that ball was a bullet by Jay Bruce, who hits it right back up the middle right here on one hop. And Ronnie Cedeno gets it quick enough that he's able to get that lead runner.
So a 6'5" fielder's choice takes Rowland off the base paths, but he gets an RBI. Jay Bruce is at first base, first out of the inning, and Lance Nix will step in for the Reds. Trying to get their first win of 2010 at PNC Park and against the Pirates. These two teams will see one another at the end of the month. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 25th, 26th, 27th at Great American Ballpark. Right before Memorial Day weekend. Off goes the runner, grounded to the mound. 1 out,
wow.
2 outs. What a play. And give Evan Meek credit for starting it. 1-6-3 double play. Gets the Pirates out of the inning, but the Reds add a run to take a 2-0 lead.
Done tonight, 7 innings of 3-hit, no-run baseball. He's still on the mound, having struck out a couple, walked one. And beginning the bottom of the 8th inning, he'll see the bottom of the order.
Beginning with Ronnie Cedeno. Arroyo retired the first 10 batters he faced tonight. 2-0, Cincinnati with a lead. Arroyo gets a strike as he has scattered 3 hits amongst the Pirates. Has struck out 2 and walked 1. And a starter into the bottom of the 8th inning, Chris.
Well, you know, if anybody can do it, Arroyo can. We told you his propensity for giving the Reds a lot of innings. Among only 4 pitchers in Major League Baseball over the last 5 years to pitch at least 200 innings a year each one of those last 5 years. And dealing tonight. Now, the Reds have some work going on in the bullpen. Right now, Arthur Rhodes is loosening up. I imagine that if Arroyo gets through this inning, they'll take a look at him, talk to him, and determine whether they'll bring in Cordero or Rhodes to finish out the 9th. Depending on the matchups.
And Arroyo due to hit 3rd when we move to the top of the 9th. Count of 1-2 on Ronnie Cedeno.
Probably Arthur Rhodes getting ready for Iwamura.
Okay. Who would be the 3rd hitter of the inning? Talk about somebody's been dealing. Arthur Rhodes. Cedeno hitless in 2 at-bats tonight. Couple of fly balls, 1 to Brandon Phillips, 1 to Drew Stubbs. Count even at 2-2. Left field. 2-1.
That was a big run. The Reds scored, and that's the reason why.
Second time this year Cedeno has homered against the Reds. His 3rd long ball of the year.
Yeah, looks like he got a breaking ball right here. We'll see where it ends up. Oh, that maybe's a hanger. Just one of those cement mixers.
Now the 3rd home run that Arroyo has given up on the season. So 2-1, the Reds with a lead over the Pirates. Delwyn Young is standing in to pinch hit for the pitcher. Reds saw Delwyn Young in their series with Pittsburgh last month here at PNC Park. Has to take that one the opposite way. Switch hitter, Delwyn Young hitting .250 in the season. 5 RBIs and a total of 11 base hits. John Russell uses him at 3rd and at 2nd base. Looks at a strike. Iwamura, whom you mentioned, is the on-deck batter.
He's had a whole lot more at-bats, Delwyn Young, that is left-handed than right-handed. He's only hit 9 times from the right side of the batter's box.
Pittsburgh 6 for 11 in pinch hitting appearances in the first 8 games played here in the month of May. Michael Lincoln has also gotten busy in the Reds bullpen, along with Arthur Rhodes. 1-2 the count. Bronson Arroyo to the pinch hitter, Delwyn Young. Base hit. Back-to-back knocks for the Pirates.
Yeah, pretty good bit of hitting right there, I would say, for Delwyn Young. Took that ball, which was away, a sinker, meant for him to roll over on. He didn't. He just went with it and found a hole on the left side of the infield.
So with a run in, a runner on, and nobody out, and Aki Iwamura.
And that probably will be all for Bronson Arroyo. At least that's why Arthur Rhodes presumably would have warmed up for this particular inning. Moore is strictly a left-handed hitter, but maybe not. Maybe Brian Price just going to go out there to see how Bronson Arroyo is and give him a little pep talk.
Bronson Arroyo certainly has acquitted himself very well tonight. Retired the first 10, and really, as far as the first pitch strikes, he was really on the move. And Arroyo's going to leave the game. Brian Price, the pitching coach, will make the change. The Reds will go to the bullpen, leading by a score of 2-1 here in the bottom of the 8th inning in Pittsburgh. Our Skyline call to the bullpen for the pitching change means Arthur Rhodes will surface from the pen. 2-1. Reds with the lead. Ballpark. Come early for the dog parade and to check out the fan zone for product samples and special dog activities. Get more info on how you and your dog can be part of the first 2 Reds Bark in the Park events this year. Visit Reds.com/dogday. Bronson Arroyo's night is done.
Yeah, his night is done, but his line is not complete. At least not yet. That runner at first base, Delvin Young, is his responsibility, but still a whale of an effort for the Reds right-hander tonight. Reds did not get him a whole lot of run in support, but that extra run that they got last inning, how big was that? That preserved at least the margin of victory right now for Bronson Arroyo as they still lead 2-1. Arthur Rhodes, 14th game for Sir Arthur, and with a sterling 0.75 earned run average. This guy has been lights out, and this is what I like down here. First batter efficiency. You come in and get that first batter out, that's what relievers are paid to do.
And he has been solid at doing it. Aki Iwamura, the Pirates' second baseman, is the first that Rhodes will face. And Iwamura fouls off a bunt attempt.
A pretty good idea by John Russell, the Pirates manager. You're down by 1, you're playing at home. They play good baseball at home. Their relief corps this year is 6-1 record-wise, so they're used to playing some tight ball games here. Rhodes is very tough on left-handers. The chances of Iwamura getting a base hit here very low based against Arthur.
Rolling in tight at third. Butted to Roland at third. The double clutch and get Iwamura as he throws to Brandon Phillips cover. So that does move Delwyn Young on to second base.
Just trying to play the percentages. Now you have some right-handers coming up, and Andy LaRoche and Andrew McCutcheon.
Mike Lincoln had been warming in the pen with Arthur Rhodes.
And the options for Dusty Baker are this. You leave Arthur Rhodes in. He's thrown the ball extremely well lately, or you go with percentages and bring the right-hander in.
LaRoche got the first base hit of the night for the Pirates, which could have very easily, and we had guessed at first, be ruled an error. Looks at the ball. He hit a ball right at Orlando Cabrera at short that, out of character, Orlando misplayed it. But then LaRoche was left stranded, one of the 4 Pirate runners that have been left on base tonight. 2-1 Reds with a lead. Owen Young, a pinch hit single out at second base following the Ronnie Cedeno home run. His 3rd of the year, and the 2nd that he's hit against Cincinnati.
Arthur Rhodes has got one of those fastballs, and he rarely throws a two-seamer. He's almost 100% four-seam fastball, and he throws it, and it cuts into right-handers. That natural cut motion, he can jam them or pick the outside corner with him.
Yes. So 1-2 on Andy LaRoche. 10 innings scoreless streak by Rhodes, the longest for a Reds pitcher this season. 1 out, 1 on, and 1 in for the Pirates. LaRoche fouls it off. McCutchen on deck. As we roll to the top of the ninth, the Reds are due to have Stubbs, Hannigan in the pitcher spot due to bat. Andy LaRoche. 1-2. Center field, Stubbs. Got it. Second out.
Well, the Reds have their best defensive outfield out there right now. At least it's on the enabled list. Of course, Chris Dickerson, an exceptional defender in the outfield when he's on the active list. But you've got Lance Dixon left, Drew Stubbs, and then Jay Bruce. And those guys, all of them, great athletes, can go get it.
Stubbs able to right away once the ball came off the bat in position. And we talked about what the Reds have been doing defensively coming into the game tonight.
You know, that was the emphasis that Walt Jocketty spoke to the press about all winter long. Said we need to be a better defensive ball club this year, and they have certainly tightened it up. No errors in the last 5 games, only 5 in the last 18 games, and they've only given up 4 unearned runs all year long. Contrast that to the Cubs, who've given up 24 unearned runs.
And Gold Gloves around the infield with Roland, Cabrera, and Phillips. Votto seems to be improving to make you think that one day he might be sniffing at a Gold Glove in his trophy case. On the count to Andrew McCutchen. And these group of Reds catchers, Ryan Hannigan and Ramon Hernandez, certainly have held up their end of the thing defensively.
Pretty good fastball hitter. Here's a situation with McCutchen up there. Right-handed hitter, you have a left-hander in Garrett Jones coming up. There's no reason you need to throw it right down the middle of the plate here to McCutchen. So if Rhodes looks like he's pitching around McCutchen right here because he don't want to pitch him, he may not want to.
Trying to get to Jones.
I mean, you may get an easy out by him chasing a bad pitch. But lefty versus lefty, Rhodes has really been lights out.
McCutchen tonight 0 for 2 with a walk. 2 out. Here in the bottom of the 8th, the Pirates have already scored once. Got the inside corner.
Wicked cutter.
Yes, it worked. There's the runner, Young at second. Pinch hit single, followed Cedeno's home run. 2-2 the count to Andrew McCutchen. Swing and a miss. Pitch strike. Reds get out of the inning, but the Pirates score 1 to come within 1. 2-1 Cincinnati leading Pittsburgh heading to the top of the ninth. the bat of Brandon Phillips and into the glove of Garrett Jones.
Nice play right up against the foul fence right here. Garrett Jones out there taking a little early infield this afternoon. And that defensive practice paid off. Sometimes first baseman, sometimes right fielder, or hot dog, John Morrell hot dog, play of the game.
Saw him make some outstanding plays at first base last month when the Reds were here. 2-1, Cincinnati with the lead as we move to the top of the ninth.
New pitcher for the Pirates, too, is a right-hander hard thrower, Joel Hanrahan. Part-time closer last year for the Pirates. Saved 5 games for him this year. 10 innings, 8 hits, 4 walks, and 16 punch-outs.
Stubbs trying to bunt. Well, being the hockey fan you are, I know you'll be thrilled to know the Pittsburgh Penguins are coming back to play a Game 7. They lost tonight in Montreal 4-3 to the Canadiens.
This time will be live
Wednesday night.
Game
7 at the Igloo. Pittsburgh
Reds will play here during the day.
During the day.
Warm up the Pittsburgh fans a little bit for some ice action that night.
Stubbs with a foul at the plate. So 4-3 Montreal with a victory. The Canadiens upset Washington in the first round of the playoffs. That was the big shocker of the early part of the Stanley Cup postseason.
They just seem to play better with their backs against the wall.
Who, Montreal?
Yeah.
Halak, their goaltender's been on fire. When you were playing for the Expos, did you get over and see the Canadiens of the old form?
Once.
That had to be something.
That was something else, yeah.
Stubbs fouls this one. Of course, they're playing in a new building called the Bell Center, but the old Montreal form. One of the shrines of hockey, so said. And the old Maple Leaf Garden in Toronto. Were the Canadiens any good when you were up there?
Yeah, they were. They won it.
What, 86, I think it was?
Well, actually, when I was there, they didn't win it. I came up there in 1986, they won it, and the Reds were in town, and they rioted the city that night. Turned over cars, burned buildings. It was quite the sight.
Stubbs with a pop-up that it looks like either Clement or Domet. No, neither. It bounces in the Reds' dugout.
That's where I learned to say, run, here come the cops in French.
How do you say that?
I don't know, I forgot.
Okay. Now, was that Game 7 in Montreal?
Yes, it was.
Were they playing Calgary?
I can't remember who they were playing.
And you were with the Reds then?
Yes.
And going to Montreal. Okay. Full count to Drew Stubbs. Reds lead at 2-1 here in the top of the ninth. And another foul. Ryan Hannigan is on deck. And then the pitcher spot. Arthur Rhodes will lead Bronson Arroyo. Grounder at third. Nice pickup by LaRoche. Nice scoop by Jeff Clement.
Yeah, that pickup by LaRoche was important because he charged that ball hard. He did not let that ball take one more bounce. He got at the very end of the long hop. Watch him at the very end of this ball. It takes a high hop right there. If that ball bounces one more time, and I guess he really picked it up on the short hop there, but he charged it hard, made his decision early, and gives him a chance right there to throw out Drew Stubbs. If he lays back on that ball, Stubbs is safe at first.
Nice scoop by Clement.
I'd like to know Stubbs' time to first base on a run like that. You know, all the scouts get it. We're going to have to figure out a way to put it on our Fox box.
Another try for LaRoche. 2-0. Johnny Gomes to pinch hit for the Reds. And he's been on a tear. Reminder, once we conclude business, Reds Live here from PNC Park. We hope you'll stay with us. Jim Day will be giving us all the details of tonight's battle between the Reds and the Pirates, which currently is 2-1. Cincinnati with the lead. That's Reds Live, our postgame show, coming up on Fox Sports Ohio. And how about an attaboy for Jim Day? Playing a little hurt. And we appreciate the effort. Johnny Gomes, the pinch hitter. A 4-game hitting streak, Gomes, including 3 multi-hit games during that stretch. A double yesterday against the Cubs. Johnny Gomes 7 base hits in his last 3 games.
He's on fire. I mean, he's the kind of guy, and he'll readily admit he's a streaky hitter. He's going up there to hack. And sometimes they fall in there. Sometimes he sees the ball big.
You get a look at what he's done in the last 10-game stretch. Checks his swing. 3 homers, 19 RBIs on the year. It's been Gomes and Nix in left field. Another check swing. So the count, well, they got him on that one. He didn't check in enough time. So 3-1 the count. Dusty Baker saying before the game when asked about Nix being in left rather than Gomes, talked about how Ross Ollendorf, the starter, had been so tough on right-handers. Called strike. And we say had been tough. Really, that dates back to last year for Ollendorf.
Well, you can see that he really handled a lot of the right-handers, with the exception of Scott Rowland tonight, pretty well. Handled everybody, but for the most part, the right-handers had a tough time.
Full count to Johnny Gomes with 2 out. Off the glove of LaRoche. He hit that one hard. And they're going to call that a base hit for Johnny Gomes.
Yeah, you had a figure in that particular account. He went 3-1 through a perfect fastball low and away. 3-2, he's coming with another heater, and that feeds right into the power of Johnny Gomes. He loves to know when that piece of cheese is coming. He was all over it.
So a 5-game hitting streak working for Johnny Gomes. So back to the top of the order, and Orlando Cabrera. 0 for 3 with a walk for the Red shortstop. Hanrahan on the mound for the Pirates. Tried to get the appeal at first. Nothing doing, says Greg Gibson. Joel Hanrahan is not allowed to run in his last 3 appearances out of the Pirate bullpen. Orlando on Wednesday against the Mets hit his 5th career walk-off home run as he touched up Pedro Feliciano for a long ball. 2-0 the count. Base hit left field for Cabrera. Gomes on his way to third. That ball rattling into the corner. Gomes being waved home. Here comes a throw to the plate. Johnny Gomes hits the dirt, and he's out. Reds with a lead. Pirates coming to bat in the bottom of the 9th. John Deere. Visit your local Cincinnati John Deere dealer this deer season for great savings. By the Ohio Department of Public Safety, reminding motorcyclists to ride smart. By the Basement Guys. Enter to win the free basement giveaway from the Basement Guys. To enter, go to thebasementguys.com. And by Shakely Unicom, Ohio Managed Care Organization for Workers' Comp. 2-1 Reds with a lead over the Pirates. We head to the bottom of the ninth. In the top of the ninth inning, the inning ended with a play at the plate. Johnny Gomes thrown out.
Well, Ronnie Cedeno with the peg. Doman catches it and then blocks the plate, or does he? Johnny Gomes doesn't think he's out. He thinks he's safe, the pump of the fist. But the other pump of the fist by Brian Knight, the home plate umpire, rung him up. Dusty Baker went out to argue. No avail. Reds closer in.
That would be Francisco Cordero. And a look at what he has done in 2010. Getting an awful lot of work. Garrett Jones to lead off the bottom of the ninth for the Pirates. Bounces to Phillips. 1 out. Jones hitless on the night.
Now, both the first two guys in this order are the very important ones because they're both left-handed and they both have exceptional power. So that's a huge out right there by getting Jones to retire the first man in a one-run ball game.
Cordero has converted 10 of 12 save opportunities. And we talk about working a lot. Has worked 4 of the last 6 games. Brian Doman hitless. Cordero will turn 35 years old tomorrow. Trying to work the outside, Francisco Cordero. And there you look at how he stacks up with everybody else in the National League in saves. Right behind former Pirate Matt Capps. Now with Washington. Strike. Cordero working 2 of the 3 games over the weekend against the Cubs. Count 2-1. But nobody on and 1 out. Swing and a miss by Doman. Thanks to many who've helped make this happen tonight and also through the series tomorrow. Executive producer of FSN Ohio, Tom Farmer. Our coordinating producer for Reds Baseball, Doug Johnson. The producer for tonight's game, and it is a pleasure to be working with him, Brian Hunterman. Roy Alfers, our director. Tried to work it inside, didn't get it. Associate producers Matt Sigafus and Alan Layton. Our pregame producer is Kent Dream Weaver. Count full to Ryan Doman. That's the second walk given up by Reds pitchers tonight.
Now, these ball clubs have been involved in some tight ball games, and the Pirates, in games decided by 1 or 2 runs, are 10-2 on the year. The Reds have won 13 of those tight ball games, and they're in another one tonight. 7-4 in one-run games they are. The interesting thing about the Pirates, they have lost 17 games this year, and 12 of those losses they've lost by 6 runs or more. So they've been blown out a whole bunch. But when they do keep it tight, they end up winning way more than they lose.
So it's either high drama or high disaster.
Good way of putting it, Paul.
Lastings Millage, who's had 1 base hit on the night.
Like my driving or yours?
Something like that. Doman on at first.
Well, Doman's no threat to steal.
You think the Cubs thought that about Gomes the other day?
Yeah, that was misplayed by Aramis Ramirez, the third baseman. It was, as it turned out, a terrific play, good play by Gomes. Inquired about it. It was not a set play, but just a good base running.
Lastings Millage.
Got to throw some strikes here. And you know what Cordero likes to do? We've said it before, and every scout in the world knows it. He likes to stay away from hitters in this situation. Does not want to give a hitter a chance to pull the ball and pop one out of here. If you're going to hit one off of Cordero, normally you're going to have to hit it the other way. Problem is, he's just missing the plate. Now he's down 2-0.
Milledge, not much of a threat to pop one out. He's yet to homer this season, but it has driven in 11.
Well, you give him a high fastball inner part of the plate, he's strong enough.
Count 2-0. Doman at first. 1 out. Reds up by a run. First strike. On deck, Jeff Clement, the first baseman.
He's got some pop and some power. Left-handed hitter on deck.
Raked a single in the 5th inning. Count 2-1 to Milledge, the left fielder for the Pirates. He made the first throw on the part of that play that cut Gomes down at home to Cedeno with a relay. Cordero 2-1. Now he's going to go to first, and it gets by Votto, but Doman will stay stationary.
I'm not really sure what the fascination is with Cordero and Doman at first base. I mean, the chances of you picking Doman off versus the chances of you throwing the ball down the right field line, you have to weigh those out. He's got a pretty big lead, but he's going nowhere.
2-1 with 1 out. Milledge with a foul. Hastings Milledge, first with the Mets, then with the Nationals. Came over here on the trade last year with Niger Morgan when the Pirates were just unloading people. Nate McLouth, Niger Morgan, Jack Wilson, all left this city. Count goes full. As a starter, Bronson Arroyo. Freddie Sanchez, another that the Pirates shipped away.
Not a lot you can do if you're Bronson Arroyo except pace the dugout, hoping your closer does his job. Ground ball double play would seal it.
Count full. 1 on, 1 out. All 4. Second consecutive walk. We've seen this movie before in the same stadium.
Well, you know, that's the one shortcoming, at least this season, with Francisco Cordero, is his ability to throw strikes when he needs to. He gets himself in a world of trouble. He has thrown now, Cordero, 17 innings, and he's walked 9 batters. But he struck out nearly a batter an inning, so he has the strikeout pitch when he gets it where he wants to.
Jeff Clement grounds to Votto, goes to second. Cabrera. And that's where they'll keep it.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff Clement, for hacking at that first pitch. Looked like it was a ball down in the zone, and he just rolled over right on it. Went to Joey Votto, who's really showing me something offensively. I mean, defensively. Getting rid of the ball, throwing it accurately to second base, getting that runner there. That would be the go-ahead run had Milledge been able to get to second base. So he prevents that from happening. Of course, all eyes are on Cordero and Cedeno.
Ronnie Cedeno, when last at the plate, homered off Bronson Arroyo in the 8th inning. 2 out, 2 on. That long ball, the only base hit of the night for Cedeno, and 3 trips to the plate. And a good move by Cabrera not to force a throw down at first base or third for that matter. After getting the force out. Strike to Cedeno to even the count. Doman, who got a walk, down at third base. Clement on that fielder's choice is at first base. 2-1 Reds with a lead. Bottom of the 9th. Cordero trying to put the fire out. Grounder where Phillips will get a chance and gets it to Cabrera to end the ball game. 2-1 Reds get the victory over the Pirates. Francisco Cordero slams the door Bronson Arroyo gets his second win of the season. And this is a Reds baseball team that certainly comes in with feeling pretty good about how they were able to support their starting pitcher.
Well, they had blowout wins the last couple of games in Cincinnati against the Chicago Cubs. You come in here, not very many runs are scored, only 12 hits in the entire ball game. But you had a pitcher out there that made his 2 runs stand up. Bronson Arroyo, outstanding job today with his work on the mound. Dusty Baker happy he's seen his ball club win 3 in a row. And maybe they're putting a streak together.
2-1 is the final score. The Reds defeat the Pittsburgh Pirates, their first win of the year over the Pirates here at PNC Park. Bronson Arroyo the victory. Francisco Cordero gets the save. RBIs from Scott Rowland and Lance Nix. And the Reds started play